Welcome back to Milwaukee Market Update. We're covering real estate news and data, breaking it down to help you understand how it impacts your real estate decisions. Teaser, Nick and I made 2025 real estate predictions here from Milwaukee Market. How do we do? And can we do it again?
We were pretty close, and we'll see who the ultimate winner is for predictions. What to take away this episode? We're talking about what happened this last year in 2025, and also what should we be expecting this year? Where are things going to go? What's the market going to look like? If you're a buyer or seller, what could you prepare for? And I think most exciting, we have a new member of our real estate team. Ty had a baby over the Christmas time. I think it'll be a couple years till we get him on the podcast. But welcome in, baby William.
Yes, the future of real estate. But with that, we're here to give you the info you need to make the right decisions regarding your real estate. Should I buy a home now? Should I be selling? Is the housing market about to crash? Are these headlines I'm reading, content I'm seeing on social media true or even relevant to me? If you're new to the show or return because you found value in our previous videos, please take a second to subscribe now. This helps us reach more people who need this information. You can follow us or reach out on Instagram, Horizon Homes, MKE, or our website, homewithhorizon.com.
And this episode is brought to you by Venture Title. Venture Title for all your title and closing services. A lot of our clients use them. We've used them before. They're phenomenal. They're great. They know what they do. They're thorough. They do a phenomenal job. You can reach out to Venture Title at orders@venturetitlewi.com.
And with that, I'm Ty.
I'm Nick.
With Compass, your local real estate experts.
Ty, welcome back, man.
What's up, dude? Here we are.
It's a new year. It is January 2026. Crazy, man. Crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like 2025 flew by. I think it
Always
was
does.
just like yesterday that we were putting this together for 2025 for what's the year going to look like. I'm excited to go through what the year actually looked like with 2025. I think most importantly, I'm excited to see what our predictions are going to look like here.
It's like Christmas, but for nerds.
Exactly, dude. All our listeners are like, what's happening? What are Nick and Ty saying about the year? I know you got some big news to share though, don't you?
Yeah, so a little bit of a delay since our last podcast because my son has entered the world. So Kelsey and I had our newest addition to the family, William Robert Ash. So we're spending tons of time with him here at home and just soaking it all in.
I love that, man. That's amazing. How's dad life going?
It's great. Wake up about 2 to 3 times a night, changing some diapers. It's it's what else could you want?
I love it, man. I feel like you're it's crazy that you're officially a dad now,
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like you'll be a great dad.
That's
And
the same feeling for the person who has the kid. So
yeah, and like you got like a little you running around. I feel like it's probably the craziest thing about having a kid. It's like that is me, but as a 0-year-old running around right now, just causing problems in the world.
2 weeks today.
Okay, all right, man.
Perfect, man. But obviously, we've got an exciting episode, probably more so for ourselves, but we're going to, like you said, recap our predictions that we made for 2025 about a year ago, make some new predictions, and just kind of talk about the market as a whole, talk about the market here in Milwaukee, what happened in 2025 and what we think is going to happen in 2026. So with that, what would you say like some of the main stories that we saw here in the last 12 months?
Yeah, I feel like 2025 was kind of a similar year to what the year prior was, where I feel like the main thing with Milwaukee is we haven't seen a lot of change in our real estate market. Things have kind of been very status quo. Things have kind of been very predictable, which I think is one of the nice things. I kind of think that, like, to summarize the year, there was limited inventory compared to what we've had in years prior. As a buyer, it was very competitive. I feel like we saw a ton of competition at that first time home buyer price point that like 250 to 5 feels like it was uber competitive, where anything that was a good listing that was priced correct, listed on a Thursday, it's several offers over the weekend if it's in that price point. And I feel like that was a challenge for a lot of buyers. I think as a seller selling in that price point, you were almost maybe overwhelmed with how much attention and traffic your listing saw. But there was still success sales wise on the high end side of things too. And so I think it was very competitive for buyers. The buyers that were winning were the ones that had their ducks in a row. They knew what they were after. We saw price growth. I think like if you're a homeowner just still holding on, I think it now is a great time to just be a homeowner in general, seeing the steady price growth. I feel like that's kind of the main gist of what Milwaukee saw this last year. What do you think, man?
I think you hit all of it here at the local level. And I would say, I don't think that we were necessarily like saved from some of the stuff that was going on nationally too. I think some of the bigger headlines we had is the market had a little tantrum for the tariffs that happened earlier in the year in the spring, April, March, April kind of time frame. We actually saw rates go down over the course of the year, closer to like 1%. And also just a ton of location driven differences across all real estate markets. Like you just did a great recap here in Milwaukee. If you compare that to many of the markets in Florida or Austin, Texas, this is something we hit on multiple times a year. Total night and day, flip of a coin, like depending on where you are, the real estate market could be acting completely differently. And almost in every single one of those cases, it's an inventory story.
Yeah, it was very interesting talking with a lot of realtors across the US too, to compare the Milwaukee market to what they were saying. Because our market, nothing's really changed. I feel like last year to the year prior, if you were searching for a house in 2024 and then continued to search in 2025, you probably didn't notice a single difference. Rates went down, which definitely helps like your bottom line. But then we were talking with realtors in Texas and the East Coast and Florida, and their markets are just vastly different. And even like my fiance and I, we were in Myrtle Beach over the holidays, and we were just, going on Zillow, just kind of looking around, and it's crazy how many homes are for sale there. And then you
Yeah.
compare that to Milwaukee, and it's like there might be homes for sale, but everything is kind of, if it's still for sale, it's for a reason. Versus you're looking at these beautiful homes that feel like they're priced correctly, and there's tons of options. And so it's very different market to market. And Milwaukee's a market of little inventory right now, competitive with offers, and that's not the case all over the US. And we talk about that so much too, that like I feel like a lot of the headlines that we saw that from like a national CNN, CBS perspective, they're going to be things talking about the whole US real estate market. And sometimes it applies to Milwaukee. A lot of times it has the exact opposite that we're hearing, and
Yeah.
those whatever it is what's happening actually here locally.
Yeah, totally agree. And, I think one thing we could do here is kind of like actually just very quickly hit on some of those stats that we saw for 2025. We have the December numbers that are out. So we have an entire year to date look at what that looks like and really setting the stage for some of the key predictions that we made from a metric standpoint. And let's see how we did.
Yeah, love it, man.
All right, let's get the screen up. We've got our new setup here, obviously a home office here, so I can spend more time with baby Will.
Yeah.
But let's pull this monthly metric up and let's see what we've got. All right, so this is the 4 county Milwaukee area. So this would be like the metro area of Milwaukee. We've got our December metrics, which obviously we're excited to dive in. We're mostly covering these year-to-date numbers that we've got across the board. Starting at the very top, we've got 19,000 listings that came onto the market this year, up 2%. Closed sales, we had just over 15,000, also up about 2%. As always, we always see that these are very much correlated. Days on market, only 1 day longer on the market when we look at year over year, 24 days in 2025 versus 23 in 2024. Prices went up yet again. Again, I think this is one of our key things that we made predictions on. I'm excited to go back in time and see what it is. Prices went up 6.5% for the median. 362,000 is now the typical home price that you're going to see here in the Milwaukee area. Percent of original list price received, we're sitting just a hair under exactly getting the list price when you sell it, down just a couple fractions of a percent in terms of what we saw a year ago. So homes are still getting their list price on average. And finally, where did we end the year from a months of supply perspective? 1.8 months of supply. I think this bounced kind of between this like high ones into the low twos. Like I think we saw a couple like 2.3s as we went to that season. I think 1.8 in like the dead time of the year is really setting up the stage for probably some of the predictions we're going to be making for 2026. Again, 1.8 is less than 2 months of supply, 4 months is balance. So we're still seeing half as much inventory as we need to meet the demand, even in the slow season.
Yeah. What are kind of like, as you're looking at this, like the big takeaways that you have? Like anything in here that kind of surprised you, or as you're just kind of seeing this, like what's the most important thing that you're always looking at with this?
I guess I'm not surprised by too much. I want to say I'm surprised that we're not seeing more inventory come. Like if we actually went down to the page that shows active inventory for sale. You would expect with like the higher cost of living that we've received. I think a home was like 250,000 for the median home back in 2020, 2021, and now we're almost, we're 50% higher at least. And to still see prices going up almost double the rate that they typically do in a historical market, like I think that's the thing that's got me most surprised right now is
Yeah.
inventory is down, and we should have seen a little bit of slowness in price just because of affordability, but we're not. And I think a lot of that's just because how our pricing is correlated to other markets across the country. It's like we're still one of those top 10 markets where like the typical earner can still afford the typical home. Like that is still very much true here in our market.
Yeah. If you scroll back up to that summary page that you had, um, I think like the big takeaways that I have here as a homeowner, the median sales price and the average sales price increase 6.5% and 7.5%. That's basically been the same number for the last 10, 15 years, has been right at that 6 to 8% increase, which I think that number feels like when you hear like a 6, 7% increase, and you look at this and the average home went up about $20,000 to $25,000 in value, that feels like a lot. Like it feels almost like if I bought my home a year ago and I just kept it for a year, it's now worth 25 grand more. But I just love how the Milwaukee market, it's very stable, where we
Yep.
don't see these crazy price swings. We don't see a 2% growth and a 10% growth and a 1% decline. It's very consistent between 6 to 8%, which to me is steady growth. It's not showing an explosion one year, then a regression. It's predictable and it's consistent. I think like we'll talk more about predictions. I think also it's important to know that like did every home in Milwaukee go up by $20,000? No, like it's going to be kind of like that typical home, I would say, that fits in that like median price point, is typically where we see the most value growth. Um, I also think too it's very interesting that like a lot of conversations I had with buyers in 2024 and in 2025 was you had a lot of people waiting, which I understand because it feels like every time you look at the housing market as a buyer, you get that feeling of, is this sustainable? Like I'm competing against 5 to 10 other offers. This is a craze that's going to slow down. And I think it's a very natural feeling to have that, sort of thought of like, okay, next year might be different. The year after it might be different. If I wait until December, it might be different. And looking at these numbers, it didn't change at all. And that craze kind of continued all through 2026. We'll talk about or all through 2025. We'll talk about what we think about 2026. But I think the big takeaway is as a buyer is we talk about it's really important for you to know why you want to purchase a house, and that it can be difficult at times in the market we're in to purchase a house, not all the time, but sometimes, and that you really need to have a lot of conviction and commitment to the process and to finding a house to make it happen. And I think we've seen clients already now that bought a home 2 years ago that are up $40,000 to $50,000 in equity that at the time we're thinking, man, I'm paying over 10 grand of asking price. Am I crazy to do this? And they're reaping those benefits.
And I feel like
And I think a lot of this, go
I
ahead.
want to echo you where it's like that predictability is like the best thing you possibly ask for both being a home owner that might be selling in the future, but also that new home buyer. Like you should get confidence knowing that like, yes, prices are going up that quickly, but they're consistently going up that quickly. So if you're trying to make that plan to save that down payment, you can have some confidence that once you purchase that home, the floor is not going to fall out from underneath you. And the main metric that shows that is the months of supply. Like
Yep.
we would have to have a significant change in the market overnight. And that doesn't seem like it's going to be the most likely scenario, saying that rates are slowly coming down, which, if anything, is going to fan the flames a little bit more of the Milwaukee market.
Yeah. And I think like there was a lot of chatter when rates went up in 2024, it would have been where they went from that 3, 4% interest rate that we all fell in love with to being in the sevens. And then we've slowly seen a decline down to the sixes and like the high fives this year at one point, and they've kind of been hovering around there. And I do think that that is kind of the biggest, without realizing it, having rates at 3% for 10 years really did a lot of harm to the market because people, I think it's like 70% of homeowners in Wisconsin are in a sub 4% interest rate. And that's just inventory that isn't moving right now because
Yep.
for them to find something the same or better, they're now looking at spending a lot more. And I think that's probably the biggest unforeseen impact that those low rates had. Where now it's kind of doing harm to people that are looking to enter the market because there isn't the inventory to choose from. Um, and yeah, so you talked about like, unless something changes, like what would need to change in your mind for our market to shift as well too?
I think you'd have to have a huge amount of inventory that comes to the market, which could come through new home construction, which I think we've hit on before is just not something that Milwaukee is set up to support. Of a lot of like the profit margins aren't there. It's an already pretty dense city, so you'd have to get 40 minutes outside of the downtown area to really ramp up that type of inventory production. The other piece is you'd have to start having people default on their mortgage or have like other outside non-real estate factors impacting them, like car notes and consumer debt and all these other things that have at least seem to be pretty stable for the people that are buying homes today. And you can't really have like an inventory problem where people aren't trading it if they're going to sell their home for a gain, because even if it's not the exact number they want, but they're still not having to like pay out of pocket to sell that home. That's where we've seen problems in the housing market is I need to sell my home, but also I have to come $50,000 out of pocket because the price dropped out from underneath me. That's why I'm so fixated on is that price going to be stable for you, even if it stays flat, which I think at this point we have a very strong case that's going to be way better than flat going into 2026.
Yeah, I think you nailed it, man. And whenever I talk to clients that are considering moving to Milwaukee or investing in Milwaukee, I show them these numbers here, and how I kind of summarize it is it'd be really hard for Milwaukee's market to decline in value while other markets go up. Um, and we've seen the opposite happen this year where other markets have gone down in value or been flat and Milwaukee's still going up. And I talk about for something to change, it'd have to be something that's affecting everyone in the US. It'd be very hard for Milwaukee's to decline while other similar markets go up. And hopefully that doesn't happen. But I think that's kind of the only thing that I'm really seeing is how this market could shift.
Yep. I totally agree across the board. And like now I just feel like we're just chatting to chat. Let's really dive into the fun part, at least for us here of the episode, which is going to be 2026. What's going to happen here?
So should we, so I'd say 2026, same year as 2025 is kind of what I'm predicting.
Your little anecdote, just your fluff to put on top. I'm going to be pretty much on the same page as you. It seems like it's setting up the exact same, especially when you look at like our starting inventory level, prices have gone up, and in all honesty, maybe some upside because interest rates are better.
Yeah, interest rates are better, which I think is like the main variable right now that it feels like is going to have an impact on the market. Because I don't see a lot of other things changing. Granted, we don't know the future. We don't know if there's going to be a depression or a recession that hits. But like that, I feel like is the one variable that could affect things is if rates continue to decline. I'm not going to go into like the whole rate prediction right now, but I think it's going to be very, very similar in 2026, where if you're a buyer, you got to have your ducks in a row. You got to be prepared. I think it's going to be a market where we're not going to have the luxury to go and see 10 houses in a weekend and then you pick your favorite. It's going to be very much, we're going to go see a couple houses as things pop up. But then we're kind of now at the point, once you feel ready and educated to make that decision, we're kind of just waiting for that one to pop up to strike on versus the House Hunter HGTV kind of thing of here's 3, which one do we like? Like we're just not in a market where we have the inventory to support that and the demand is so
this
strong.
One.
Right. I'm like, so that's kind of and as a seller, I think you have something that people want. If your home's been maintained well, it's in a desirable location, you have a good that people really need right now. And there's a shortage of it. And as long as you price it effectively, like I don't see it being a challenging year for sellers either.
No, not one bit.
No. Should we look at what our predictions were?
Let's
and
do
how
it.
they stacked in?
Pull them up on the board here?
Yeah. It's not the prettiest thing here. All right.
Oh, we got a spreadsheet. Look at that.
So when we started this in 2024, we made predictions for one thing, and that was price increase. I said in 2024, prices were going to go up by 7%. You said they were going to go up by 8%. They went up by 7. So we're going to say I won 2024. All right.
Okay, got it.
That
That
was
was
me.
our prediction 2 years ago.
Yep. Yep. 2025. So for last year, we predicted a couple things. We predicted the median price increase, number of new listings, number of closed sales, average months of supply, and then we had a little tiebreaker as interest rates. Ty, will you pull up the stats and we can kind of go through this here?
I've got it pulled up on my side screen here. So
All right. All right. 2025, median price increase. I said 7.5% increase. You said 7. What was
came in
that?
at 6.5% year to date.
Okay. All right. Ty,
Strike one down for Ty.
0.5% off. All right. One for
Yeah.
Ty.
All right.
New listings.
Oh, dude.
I
New
said
listings.
19,000. You said 19,500.
Okay, new listings came in at 19,017. So you're off by 17 homes for your new listing estimate. That's pretty good.
That's pretty freaking crazy, huh?
That's pretty good. Not quite
17 listings off.
yeah,
I
not quite
needed you to not
5%.
list 17 homes this last year, and my prediction would have hit.
Yeah, that's crazy. Rounding error at that point.
Yeah.
All right, next up.
Okay. Next up, closed sales. I said 16,000. You said 15,225.
Number came in 15,181 for closed sales. So looks like I'm within less than 100 there.
Okay, so you got 2. Good work. I got 1. Average months of supply. You said 2.1. I said 1.9.
Mm-hmm. And where we've got this here, there's actually not an average here, but we've got where we're currently sitting at is at 1.8 at this moment in time. That's where we ended the year. We'll maybe do a quick double check and make sure we get that from the same stat, because I think that comes from the monthly guide. So we'll take a little closer look and make sure we come back. But right now, my assumption is it's going to be a little bit closer to 1.9 than 2.1.
All right. Okay, so we're tied 2-2. It's a
Okay.
good thing we did this tiebreaker.
2-2,
Interest
huh?
rates today. I said
All right.
5.9. You said 6.75.
All right. You said 5.9. And as of today, we're sitting at 6.2%. But from what I can see here, I think I've actually got, oh yeah, it's tied. Yeah. Okay. Looks like you might get this tiebreaker. 6.2% is the Mortgage News Daily rate right now. I guess I wasn't as bullish as I should have been from where rates would go.
All right. So I'll take that. We'll look into the months of supply here, because I feel like that's something that we kind of going through this could swing one way or the other. But so I win, it looks like 3-2. I think you owe, I don't remember what the wager was, but I think it might have been like a steak dinner or something.
Yeah,
I guess we'll have to
I'm
listen back to the
sure.
episode to
I'm
see what
sure.
it was.
I'm sure.
Maybe
But
Bears Packers tickets this weekend in Soldier Field.
as I'm yeah, right. We'll have to see. Bears versus Packers. Obviously everyone that listens to this is probably a Packers fan, not a Bears fan. But
Yeah.
well, as we look forward, so Nick, you're crowned the champion here for our 2025 predictions by very slim margin. And the predictions we had from price, new listings that came to the market, closed sales, month supply, like we're like within, in some cases, less than 50 homes off, less than 100 homes off. That's the predictability that we thought we had when we were having this conversation a year ago. And we feel the same way again this year. Do I believe that essentially some of these numbers might have some more upside this year of growing? I do think so. So let's go ahead and start making some 2026 predictions.
Yeah, I think like just to kind of hit that further, like Milwaukee is a very predictable market, is I think what the main takeaway is here. And predictability is good. And like, we're pretty smart guys, but we're not geniuses by any means. And I think like it's kind of fascinating how close both of us were here on this.
Definitely. So let's go in. I've got my fancy retail calculator here ready to go to start calculate some percent changes and make some predictions here. Let's
All
start
right.
with the median price increase. Where do we believe this is going to land? It looks like you're first up.
Okay, I'm gonna go with 7 here for this one.
7. So a little bit different than last year. You're expecting a little bit less growth.
6.5 was last year, right?
6.5. That's less than what. Sorry, you're thinking less than what you predicted last year. This year it changed 6.5%. You're saying it's going to be 7% this year. Okay.
7%. Yep.
All right. Well, I think I'm going to go with Price is Right rules here. I'm going to go with 7.125.
125. Okay. Yeah, you're leaving
I
the door open for 7.1. I like it.
yeah. I like the chances of prices going up more this year, with interest rates starting to like consistently be lower and being a little bit closer to like the average interest rate that people probably have to make that jump, to make that move. And maybe the silver tsunami or the boomer generation starting to finally give up some of that housing and actually create some more energy to the market. So
Love it.
I think we're going to see stronger growth this year.
Cool. New listings. What are you predicting for the number of new listings?
Right in line with that, I think I'm going to go with 5% again. I'm going to go with 19,500. Same prediction as a year ago.
19,500. All right, love it. I think I did a 3% increase from last year. I'm gonna stick with that. I think we're gonna see some newness without a doubt. I think if rates drop, we're gonna see more. But I almost think it's gonna be almost the exact same year. So we're gonna do what we had times 0.025. Oh,
Ooh,
pretty close. I'm
maybe
gonna do 19.3.
Cool.
19,300. You got 19,500.
Perfect.
All right.
Next up is closed sales. This year we ended at 15,200 nearly.
Yeah. Dang, you were so close on this one. 15,225, 15,181. I'm gonna go with 15,450.
I think I'm going to go with 15,580.
Okay. All right.
Really getting down to the wire here.
Months of supply for me. Let's go with 1. I'm gonna go 2. We're locking that number in at 2. 2 months of supply.
Stole my number there. So I think I guess I'm going to have to pick, is it going to be higher or lower than that? And based on everything I'm thinking right now, I think I'm going to have to go lower.
Okay. 1.9.
1.9.
All right. And then interest rates today, Jan 7 of next year. Is it my turn? It's your turn.
Yes.
You can go first here.
Okay. I'll go first here. I'm going to go 6.125.
Ooh.
Average
Again,
mortgage news daily rate. I think
Is
it's
it
going to be static.
Below or above? I think they're going to be below.
We're going for the old 599 marketing tactic.
And like, I don't want to just undercut you because I think it's a little bit more fun to see if I can get this spot on. I'm going to go with 5.75.
Okay.
Is my numbers. All right, so we're locking these in here. We will then, a year from now, a year from now, see if we're right or not, man. And either way, I think the thing is
the least exciting predictions that have ever been made in the world.
I know. Maybe should we have like one crazy prediction? I don't know if I want to do a crazy prediction though, because that means something is going haywire.
Yep. I'll give you my little flyer prediction here, just for fun, just for
Okay.
I think that there's a good chance of duplex prices being lower in terms of appreciation than single family. Typically, where we've seen them running is closer to like 10%. I think that we're going to see duplex appreciation here in our market start to cool off a little bit more based on some of the inventory trends that we've seen. There's still a shortage, but we're starting to see a little bit more of that grow. Some people wanting to cash in on those consecutive years of 10% appreciation. I think we're seeing some inventory come and maybe some opportunities there as people look to go from duplexes to larger investments.
Okay, so duplex is appreciating less than single family.
Yep, I think that's my thing that has been not true the last 5 years is my flyer prediction.
Okay. Mine is I think we're going to see, if you look at, stick with me here on this, if we look at percent change of inventory, and I think we're going to see the biggest increase percentage wise of new listings is going to be between 550 to 750. I think if we look at like the buckets that we have for where we're going to see the most number of new listings percentage increase wise, I think it's going to be in that kind of bucket right there.
A rise in inventory and kind of the move up inventory.
Exactly.
Okay. That's going to outpace all the other price points.
It'll be a bigger jump than the other ones compared to the last year. How
Okay.
we're going to pull that, we can do it. Might have to
We'll
sit
do
down
the
a little
housing
bit
summary.
before.
The housing summary can show inventory growth, so we'll be able to get that for sure.
Great. Cool. All right, man. Well, 2026, dude. What's your resolution this year?
Be a better dad.
I love it, dude.
I've got 2 weeks to improve on, so
Yeah. So it's only up, man.
it's only up from here.
It's
How
only
about
up, dude. I want to learn Spanish. That's kind of my thing. And I don't know if it's Duolingo or what. I can speak a little Spanish, but I'd love to be able to be a little bit more fluent in Spanish.
Milwaukee Market updates only in Spanish.
You took a minor in Spanish, didn't you?
I did, but it's
So we
a
could
little
try that.
rusty. A little rusty.
Yeah. All right. Well, good stuff, man. Well, to 2026 here we go, man. Yeah, I'll see you next week.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for joining us here on our prediction episode. We've got our third annual prediction episode. We'll see where it ends as we get to 2027, which is a crazy year. Yeah, I just can't believe that's where we're at right now. Obviously, give us a follow, subscribe. That's how we know that you're getting value out of this podcast. And we'll be back again soon here on the Milwaukee Real Estate Market Update.